Hey everybody, welcome back to YAFTV. It is Thursday, November 30th, 2023. I'm so glad to be back with you here on the last day of November. I'll jump in with my disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is protected by the United States Constitution, protecting the First Amendment, as well as the Sullivan Act and reporting. It is not intended to bully or harass anyone, never to incite violence or hatred or lawlessness of any kind. It doesn't give legal, medical, or financial advice. There are further disclaimers in the description below. And yeah, so glad to be back with you. I start by saying thank you. I'm having a little tipping issue with my video. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. You make it happen, and I am so grateful, truly, for your donations, for your prayers, and for your video tips. You make it happen. So thank you so much, audience. You are just hugely, prayers go back to you from me. And so let's jump in. I do have to start with plugging today because it's the last day of the month, and I want people to know that C60 Evo is my sponsor on this channel that allows me to give away 2 bottles of C60 Evo capsules. This is carbon 60 ESS 60 100% pure that gets into your mitochondria and takes all the crud out to do with all of the garbage from the shots, from the 5G radiation, from just the geoengineering. It gets into your mitochondria and takes it out. Okay, helps to flush it out of your system, stays in the body for 15 days, continues to keep taking it out. C60evo.com/YAFTV gets you 10% off. People who contribute to the channel get 15% off with a separate code, separate email. And if you want to support the channel before midnight tonight, Central Time, I believe, is where C60 Evo lives, then you will get entered into the giveaway. I give away 2 bottles every month on this channel because of my sponsor. And so if you want to, be able to get one of those bottles, get into the giveaway pool. It's a random pool for every subscriber, every donator. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. We'll get more into C60 Evo in this video because there's so many revelations going on with so much to do with what's attacking our heart, what's attacking us with this nano magnetoparticle system, this nano sensor system that is going on, and we're going to get into that in this video. But I'm going to start by saying just a few housekeeping things, just letting people know what's going on. I want to tell people that tomorrow, if you happen to be in Iowa or in the vicinity of Iowa and want to join in to fighting the climate despots, in this video I'm going to talk a lot about what it means with what they call the Enlightened despotism, or the philosopher kings that led up to the World Economic Forum, literally through bloodlines. Okay, I'm going to talk about that towards the end of the video, where we have the bloodlines of the Prussian Empire, the Prussian monarchy, really gave us our Klaus Schwab of today in the World Economic Forum. And so if you want to fight that, and you want to fight what's going on here in the United States with the baloney around carbon capture, John Kerry style, well, COP28 is about to launch tomorrow or today in the UAE, where they're going to deal with climate reparations, where it's not just take your taxpayer dollar money out of the first world, out of the USA, to give to whoever they want. Not really. They just give it to themselves. They are actually saying that, no, these reparations have to do with taking away your energy and your water because you've already used too much of it in your previous generations. Right now we're using too much of it. And so they're going to take away our water and our energy like they're doing in COP28. That's what they're talking about right now. So in Iowa tomorrow, Trump will be there on Saturday, huge rally there in Iowa. I think it starts 1 p.m. Central Time in Iowa. You can watch it on RAV or Right Side Broadcasting, whatever. I'll link it below. But tomorrow, on Friday at noon, there's going to be a rally at the Holiday Inn, kind of a rally, kind of an informative get-together at the Holiday Inn at the airport in Des Moines, Iowa at noon, where they're going to have Vivek Ramaswamy is going to be there. They're going to talk about how do we defeat this carbon pipeline, this carbon capture pipeline baloney that's going on. And the sad thing is that, you know, when we deal with the corn industry, the biofuel industry, we're dealing with Monsanto, we're dealing with GMO corn, we're dealing with problems, okay? And so they're being paid off for the carbon capture for these pipelines, and they want to use eminent domain, even though it's being fought off, even though they're trying to fight it off. They're using eminent domain. They're trying to use it to steal land, because that's the UN, the Cartel Babylon, the World Economic Forum plan is to steal all the land, okay, through eminent domain for climate purposes, which is absolute baloney. And we've talked about it a million times. I'm going to get into more of it here, but go to this rally if you can tomorrow in Iowa, in Des Moines, at the airport, at Holiday Inn, at noon. Vivek Ramaswamy and multiple speakers coming to educate the public about what it means to fight the land steal, okay, in Iowa and across the Midwest for this baloney of carbon capture, capturing carbon, okay, which, you know, is the greening of the planet. It's complete baloney, and it's why, you know, they're fighting in the Middle East right now. What they're doing with Gaza and the West Bank, with Israel, has to do with water rights. It has to do with all the hydrocarbons in the area. All of that we'll get into. But I wanted to just mention that. Of course, we have Kissinger dead at 100. 100 years of Kissinger. God, wasn't it too much? Too much Kissinger for too long. And, you know, we get into this situation of, you know, Kissinger coming out as a Russian, Ukrainian Jew. We get this situation of all of these people out of the Prussian Empire, you know, sort of, it was the replacement immigration of the time, okay, into what became Ukraine, were people that came out like Kissinger. And we're going to talk about that, because this has to get into what I was saying, this situation of the philosopher king, or the enlightened despot, the enlightened despotism, okay, that came out of Prussia, that brought us the World Economic Forum. And we'll get more into that. So Kissinger's dead. Charlie Munger's dead, the oracle out of Omaha, Warren Buffett's right-hand man. He's dead at 99. They were supposed to have supposedly a birthday party, or a New Year's Eve birthday party in New York City. Not going to happen. It's happening in hell right now. They're meeting the fiery gates. They're meeting their maker. While they were following Lucifer their whole lives, now they get to meet, you know, they get to meet who Lucifer was working for. So goodbye to Kissinger. Goodbye to Munger. Good luck to you. And so we want to, just a couple more things before I move on. It's already 8 minutes. I know I'm babbling. But go to firerana.com, firerana.com. We want to get Ronna McDaniel out of the RNC. We need it to happen. We want to sign petitions. Go to precinctstrategy.com. We still need like thousands of committee members on the RNC. We still need thousands of committee members who decide who gets the money, who decide who gets to run for candidates. So go to precinctstrategy.com, get involved, okay? Because now we have Jamie Dimon coming out through JP Morgan saying that, JP Morgan, of course, run by, Jamie Dimon, CEO, and Jamie Dimon, is saying he's trying to go to the Democrat billionaires and multimillionaires and say, get behind Nikki Haley, neocon Nikki, get behind the war machine for Israel, Ukraine, whatever they're going to do, which is going to be more and more war. They need it because they're losing the information war. They're losing the hearts and minds of humanity, and they can only convince us with war or biowarfare. And biowarfare is, of course, the next thing coming. And so that's all, predictive, showing us that they're going uniparty. Tonight we have the debates of, ridiculous, on Hannity, on Fox, the fake news channel, that is now going to have the debate of Newsom and DeSantis. Ridiculous. Okay, Newsom, there's no Californian who would want Newsom to be president. There's nobody in the country that would want Newsom to be president. There's nobody really basically anywhere who wants DeSantis to be president except for maybe the Bush cartel barely anymore. They're just trying to create a uniparty situation between Nikki Haley. Maybe it'd be a Nikki Haley, Gavin Newsom ticket to create this uniparty, crazy, disgusting thing. That could happen, but I still think they're going to roll out Michelle Obama at the last minute here. And so we'll see what happens there. We got the Christmas tree omen, I want to say, that happened 2 days ago, where they brought out the Christmas trees, the Christmas tree at the White House with Biden there, and the winds blew it over. Okay, if that's not an omen, if that's not just God saying, like, you suck, you know, Biden, you evil, demented, awful person, I don't know what is, but I thought that was glorious to see the Christmas tree just literally just couldn't stand in front of that evil person, the Biden regime. Very interesting there. And another thing I want to mention before I get into the meat of my news, I have a ton of stuff to talk about, as you can tell while I'm talking so fast. Well, the military came out, the Navy whistleblower came out, a doctor, MP in the military, came out and said that there is now 973%, almost 1,000% increase in death by heart failure in the military, in the Navy, especially with pilots, helicopter pilots. They're dying from heart failure almost 1,000% higher. Okay, so you can say 10% higher. Oh, that's a huge increase. 15%. Wow. 20%. Oh my God, that's like an emergency. We should. What's going on? 1,000%. 973% of more deaths of heart failure. Okay, that's the complete collapse of the cardiovascular system. Everything else, like heart attacks, that was up like, 140, 150%. Heart failure, where the entire cardiovascular system collapsed and the organs, your heart shuts down. I was talking about it in my last video, the rubbery, all the microplastics in the shots that are just killing the cardiovascular system. Well, now we have it out that it's much more serious, and that's the reality of trying to kill our military, trying to kill our ability to defend ourselves in the United States, all done by design, all done by Cartel Babylon. And it gets me into this next subject, which is, it's kind of fun to get into, but it's not, it's scary as well. But it is this, what has come out recently about the flight from Malaysia way back in 2014 to do a teleportation and the disappearance of flight MH370 out of Kuala Lumpur back to Beijing, so from Malaysia to Beijing, and the interesting situation of new evidence come to light. And so remember back in the day, if you've been watching this channel for a long time, I used to talk about the secret space program and all the missing trillions that Catherine Austin Fitts talked about, all went into the secret space program, the breakaway civilization, all of it. Well, we've got a really great guy, Ashton Forbes. He's on at Just X Ashton on X, Just X Ashton, Ashton Forbes. Well, and about X, okay, now we also hear that it's come out with Jack Smith. I'll get into the secret space program in a second, I promise. But I wanted to also say, hey, welcome to the Trump list. Welcome to the MAGA list, the new blacklist that it's now just come out that Jack Smith reveals that they have gathered every single person who's ever retweeted a Trump tweet out of X, out of Twitter, and other social media, that everybody is being put on a list. How is this absolutely against our constitutional rights? I'll get into that more in the video. Against everything that we stand for constitutionally, they're somehow able to just gather our data. Everybody watching this video, I'm sure, is on the list, the Trump list. Wear it like a badge. It's the next blacklist that everyone who has ever retweeted a Trump tweet, I'm not really a tweeter, but you know what I mean, that anybody engaging in the social media support of Trump is now on a list by Jack Smith, being used by DHS, being used by CISA to profile and create what is to be, of course, the people to go after. And of course, we had Schellenberger. I'll just get into this before I go into the secret space program stuff. But Michael Schellenberger in Congress yesterday and today talking about the whistleblower, came out of the Gateway Pundit, but also you can watch it on C-SPAN, that Michael Schellenberger came out talking about a whistleblower who had very much showed that the censorship industrial complex is what he calls it, where CISA and the DHS, et cetera, using Stanford, the Stanford Observatory, which is really just the Air Force base there in California, National Science Foundation, all of these, they call them all these foundations and observatories because they're really just coming out of the Pentagon. They're funded by the military-industrial complex. But Michael Schellenberger comes out and says, hey, they have been, ever since Obama, right before he left office, he created a censorship industrial complex with, of course, the, we've talked about it a million times, but what was the stopping propaganda, prohibiting propaganda and disinformation act, which basically did the opposite. Right there before he left office, before Trump came in, he put in the executive order of stopping disinformation and propaganda act. And it basically did the opposite, biggest lies. It allowed for disinformation and propaganda to absolutely surveil everybody. Michael Schellenberger with, of course, Jim Jordan in the task force there out of the Congress, dealing with government censorship, versus Dan Goldman, who just was cringy, absolutely just looking like a tyrant, questioning Michael Schellenberger, who basically said, no, we have absolute evidence that CISA, the cybersecurity arm of the DHS, had added a new category called cognitive security, cognitive national security, meaning they need to control your mind, that they're saying that people's minds, they're doing malthink, they're doing mal-speech, malinformation, and that this was employed with massive censorship. And that came out through Congress today, that it is basically was put out through when Obama left office, and then brought in through a board of governance to stop a Trump reelection 2020. And, on steroids, as we've all witnessed. And of course, the First Amendment was always meant not to be just that we get to speak freely. The First Amendment meant freedom of the press. And freedom of the press wasn't just the reporter, although all the reporters are getting locked up, like Owen Schroyer in solitary confinement now for 6 weeks, and the people across the world. But no. Freedom of the press meant the freedom of the technology of the press. It meant that had to do with the printing press. It had to do with the technology of the time when this was written. And it had to do with the freedom of the technology of distributing information, that should be free. And that in this day, that is the internet, and that is what they are guilty of, absolutely violating all of our First Amendment rights. And we know about this. All right, so I've gone on and on. There's so much more to say, but let's just jump into here. I want to talk about what's come out with Ashton Forbes. And Ashton Forbes out of Just X Ashton, okay, on X or Twitter or whatever. But Ashton Forbes has done an incredible deep dive into the secret space technology of teleportation that went on with the Malaysia flight from 2014, okay, March 8th of 2014, where we had MH370 disappear, okay, with all those, huge amounts of civilians, but then 23 employees of a corporation called Freescale. And Freescale was a superconductor state-of-the-art corporation that was basically creating teleportation technology, and very much funded through the U.S. Department of Defense. And it was going from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing. And so what Ashton Forbes is putting out was that this plane was literally teleported. It was disappeared, and it was kind of a you would call it a proof of concept, okay, of this technology, which is quantum entanglement or teleportation, whatever you call it. You call it Star Trek style teleportation. And of course, we have William Shatner coming out in the last couple of days, talking about how he supports the King Charles. King Charles need to create genocide. King Charles, one of the philosopher kings of the Enlightened Despots, okay, that I'm been referring to. But that is William Shatner. He considered himself to be the first Jewish sex symbol, okay, in modern TV when he played Captain Kirk, and he was portrayed as that across the media. But anyway, back to Ashton Forbes. So what has he got? He reports that there was a massive, with MH370, that flight disappearance out of Malaysia Airlines, that there was a massive lithium-ion battery fire. Okay, they had mega hundreds of pounds of lithium batteries on a flight, which is now completely illegal. You remember, you can't even bring lithium batteries outside your phone onto a flight now. Then it was no, they loaded this flight up with lithium-ion batteries, okay? And basically, with lithium battery fires, if you have a Tesla car, you happen to be trapped inside and you're incinerated and the fire never goes out and you can never put it out and you're just, incinerated. Well, it's something different here. Those lithium batteries were used in this teleportation system, and this is what happened. The people who witnessed this 777 jet going on fire, they saw it glowing red. Okay, then there were three orbs circling the plane. Very interesting. We've seen the orbs in the crop circle formations as well. The orbs, people have seen them all across everywhere. These orbs that come around, and they are quantum technology orbs, dealing with magnetoelectrics, dealing with magneto technology. And it's very interesting that we have the magneto technology in our bodies now. We have it with the advanced intelligent materials in the shots, but I'll get into that in a second. So what do they see? The military out of Malaysia at the time where it disappeared, they said it's not a hostile event. No jets, no military jets were scattered to go look at this. They said, oh, it must just be a blip. We'll get back in touch with MH370. Then now we have these all these videos leaked that show these three orbs circling the plane. These orbs are meant to, what Ashton Forbes is saying, that he's discovered the toroid technology, what they call space-time area capture. These toroids that are able to go into, they create their own atmosphere, and they are able, they do what is called a 120-degree sinusoidal energy pattern around an object, okay? Just like with the crop circles, they create this energy pattern around it so that they can design the energy transference. And so what we get there is, or what happened, is that we saw from a Lockheed Martin continual surveillance. They're doing continual surveillance of this type using what is called a cyber system. Okay, they were able to capture the view of this vehicle. They wanted to see this teleportation thing happen, and so you get the view of the orbs from above circling this plane. And what they do is they converge in the plane. They do a map of the plane, sort of a digital map or energetic map, a quantum entanglement. I don't know exactly how it goes, but they create this picture of the plane. within an energy scale, within a magneto energy frame. They capture it in a frame, okay, and then through some sort of macroscopic or maproscopic quantum entanglement, they're able to accelerate the plane's energy into a superliminal speed. I hope I'm not losing you. This is just what I heard, so I'll link it below. Superliminal speed that creates this warp speed, or you'll just call it, basically teleportation of the disappearance of what you see. The next frame of the captured imagery is a disappearance of the plane of that flight MH370 out of Malaysia, with carrying all these Freescale superconductor employees and executives into hyperspace. And a lot of people wonder, well, where did they go? What's happening? Well, it looks like they arrived at the Diego Garcia military base in the Maldives. And this is a U.S. military black site, a known CIA black site, where they have an underground hangar, okay, where this plane could have come into and gone underground. They call it an endothermic event, or an absorption of energy, when things disappear into teleportation and then reappear through a exothermic event. And this is about disappearing reality into another reality. And so, or into another reality that is our same reality. We don't know what happens on the in-between. We've seen multiple TV shows, movies based upon these same type of things. We see the Philadelphia experiment talked about way back in the day. The Montauk experiments, all of this using particle beam, lasers, particle acceleration to create these same kind of events. But to me, I find it interesting that when we look at magnetoelectric nanoparticles in the shots, okay, described by, I talked about last time, described by Dr. Melcia, where she talked about advanced intelligent materials, magnetoelectric nanoparticles, okay, in the shots. Okay, it's the same magnetoelectric energy used in this quantum entanglement. And when we talk about ASI, we look at maybe what just happened with OpenAI, the firing of Sam Altman as CEO, his firing and then his rehiring. Basically, they're working on something called Q-Star. They're working on a program called Q-Star. It scared the bejesus enough out of the board, okay, of what it could do to humanity. Was it the singularity, this ASI super consciousness that could do whatever it wanted to do with quantum entanglement at will? We don't know. Q-Star fires Sam Altman. Okay, then they hire him back 3 days later, but they fire the board, okay, and they replace the board with a whole new board of total World Economic Forum people. And the World Economic Forum people are some of the scariest. And so I might jump from the MH370 when we talk about quantum entanglement and teleportation and all that, and the shots and the magneto super intelligent materials in the shots, over to OpenAI, and we look at the people that they hired onto the board of OpenAI since they rehired Sam Altman, who has been a World Economic Forum board member for several years now. Not board member, but just high up in the chain. And so they got all the other high ups on the World Economic Forum chain onto the board of OpenAI. And so we get people like Brett Taylor on there. He was the co-CEO of Salesforce with Mark Benioff. Mark Benioff is like super up there with Klaus Schwab. And when we hear Klaus Schwab, just think Schwabenland. Just think the Schwabenland, the Schwaben Alps. Okay, this is the center of the Prussian Empire. This is the center of the Prussian kingdom, okay, that gave birth to what is the enlightened despot or the enlightened philosopher king, okay, back in from the Middle Ages up through the 1700s. And I'm going to get into that. I hope I have time for that tonight. If I don't, I'll get into it in the next video. But so who's brought back onto the board of OpenAI, where the board fired Sam Altman, okay, used to be with Elon Musk owning OpenAI together. Musk leaves because he says, I don't want this to go as a open public for-profit organization. I gave $250 million to it, but now it's going OpenAI. It's going to the through an open investment situation. Now it's worth $3 billion, way more than that, folks. But now they have rehired a new board of directors, and they bring Brett Taylor, former CEO, co-CEO of Salesforce, which controls all the data. It controls all the data collection, all the data sales. Salesforce is about the data feed into what is ASI, what is into the quantum, just the constant surveillance of all data to create our digital twins, to create this matrix simulation situation. So you connect all these things together I'm talking about, you see what I'm saying. Okay, the shots with the magneto, the data collection, ASI simulation, the teleportation of planes and whatnot. How long it's been going on with the secret space program? How does it connect to Trump with John Trump, his uncle, and the Tesla papers, and Vannevar Bush, no relation to the Bush dynasty? All of this interconnection of what's going on behind the scenes of if we could just have released to us, okay, the real technologies that are going on without, you don't need all the lithium batteries, you don't need all the crap. You need a lot less of it when everybody's not at war with each other, okay? All of these land wars, all this massive killing is because they're using barbaric, it's like what they're doing to us to try to bring us back to 19th century level living, okay, meaning the 1800s, in the first world, trying to kill our energy with the COP28, kill our water, reduce us to a Hunger Games society. Okay, meanwhile, with the secret space program technology, for very little amounts of energy and much less mining of crazy town proportions, they could just produce a lovely amount of free fusion energy for the entire world. But no, they are philosopher kings. They are enlightened despots. And what they say is our happiness. You will eat the bugs and be happy. You'll own nothing and be happy because I say so, because I am a demented, psychopathic, Luciferian, satanic, captured demon troll. I have no connection to God except what is derivative and what is in my limited brain waves, because I've signed over to Satan. They want to defeat the billions and use this for themselves. But what they don't understand is that without us, they don't have anything. They don't have any creative ideas. They cannot create anything. It's all derivative, right? It's all derivative. And so back to OpenAI. So you also get Larry Summers put on the board, okay? Also at the top of the World Economic Forum. He, of course, was the World Bank chief economist, Bill Clinton's treasurer, whole nine yards. He wrote the Summers memo in 1991, which basically said we should use the third world as a toxic waste dump. We should just, it's so open there. They're so poor, they won't know. Let's just go dump all the toxic waste there, and we'll just get them in loans, and we'll suck the life out of the third world. That was Larry Summers. He was also an Epstein crony, got tons of money from Epstein for his wife's businesses. Just a giant a-hole. Okay, Larry Summers. We all heard about him. All right, and so Mark Benioff, Brett Taylor. Oh, who is the other guy? Let me see. Adam D'Angelo, also CEO of Quora. I've talked about that in the past. That has very central with the World Economic Forum, UN. businesses. I will talk about that in another video going forward. And so these are the people put on the board of OpenAI to ensure that the World Economic Forum has control of OpenAI to absolutely control everything that happens, not just on the internet, but literally in our lives. Because whatever's going on with Q-Star, which if you have links, please send them to me. I want to hear about Q-Star. We get to uncover what it was that scared the board so much that they fired Sam Altman, and the World Economic Forum struck back, okay, and brought us a World Economic Forum board that is very scary. And so I'm going to jump in here. There's so many things to report. The horrors of the border, just the total, like they've closed. The Arizona border has just been completely open. They've called all of the Border Patrol off of the border there. 2,500 migrants a day from 180 countries. Most of them, we have to understand that at this point, 75% of the migrants are not coming from Mexico or nearby Central American nations. They're coming from mostly Muslim countries and Chinese. That's what's going on. They have called off all the U.S. Marshals from flights. They're all working the non-happening border. They're all pulled off the border and put to the processing agencies. So the border is wide open there in Arizona. 2,400 miles of border. I don't have it in front of me. But I want to get into, for the rest of this video, talking a little bit about this thing of the, while we look at the secret space program, while we look at the Enlightened despot and what became the World Economic Forum, it started way long ago. Okay, it started, it was 262 miles of border of Arizona. I didn't mean to be all crazy. 262 miles of border is Arizona, and they've called up all the Border Patrol agents. This is from J.J. Carroll, who wrote the book Invaded, former senior Border Patrol agent. Basically, Tucson sector has pulled off all of their Border Patrol agents by the DHS, commanded them, and again, Mayorkas, we have MTG putting in articles of impeachment against Mayorkas. He has no oath. He's a Cuban national, immigrant, communist Cuban. And I love Cubans who are Americans because they're like the biggest America First supporters ever. Not Mayorkas, okay? He is a double agent for the Chinese. He is just for entertainment purpose only, a treasonous person who should absolutely be impeached, but also charged with treason. And so, so J.J. Carroll, who wrote the book Invaded, has said, very clearly, all of his intel shows that all border agents have been pulled from the border of Arizona, allowing just constant and massive, just run right through of our southern border there in Arizona, and it's very disturbing. He's revealed so much about the rape tents, the rape and slaughter of children, everything to do with massive amounts of drug trafficking, the Chinese connection to purposely, of course, assault the American people with fentanyl and other dangerous drugs. They're in bed with the cartels in Mexico. And but the rape and murder of children, okay, is what's really disgusting. And that Democrats or anybody libtard could think that it's okay to not understand and think, oh, it's kumbaya, just let the open borders happen, and not understand the reality. I mean, even if you're a feminist and not to understand what it means for child and women trafficking across the southern border, coming up through the Darien Gap, rape tents. This is Cartel Babylon, economy of sin, beyond, like, on steroids, beyond what Moloch could have perceived. This is like the personification for Satan, and that's why we get into this situation of Luciferianism and what it means. What is this situation of the Enlightened despot that is now the World Economic Forum? What I've been calling Cartel Babylon, the Babylonians coming up ever since, using the economy of sin to create fake empires, super involved with Lucifer, thinking they are God, and that they will use all the sinful ways of money to create a one world government dedicated to Satan and Lucifer, thinking through Lucifer. They are the light bringers. They are the enlightened despots. But their model of happiness, which is, of course, Frankism, which is, of course, the reversal of truth, the reversal of good, evil is good, lies are truth, bad. Let's just jump the shark and push as much evil as we can to bring Lucifer in, right? We have the Pope failing. He's dying. The Pope is dying. Saint Francis. No, he's not Saint Francis. He is. He's the Black Pope. He's a Jesuit Pope. He's dying. He is, and I think it's interesting. He's dying of respiratory disease, considering all he's done to promote the biowarfare on humanity. But he also is meant to be the last pope, which I've talked about in my other videos, as prophesied by Saint Malachi, that Peter the Roman. And a subscriber pointed out that St. Francis took his name from St. Francis of Assisi. St. Francis. Why do I keep saying that? I'm sorry. Francis. Okay, Pope Francis. Pope Francis from Argentina. He took his name from St. Francis of Assisi, whose name was Pietro. He was Italian, and his family lived close to Rome, and he was called Peter the Roman at the time before he became Saint Francis, and so this could be the last pope. This is the prophecy of Saint Malachi, the Irish saint, who went into a ecstatic trance and seemed to write hundreds of years of popes. Wrote the story of every pope accurately, and said that after our last pope, Ratzinger, Benedict, wrote that accurately, and then the last pope was supposed to be Pope Francis, and now he's dying, and so is it the last pope with Chrislam, with the bringing in the Luciferian AI God that they keep talking about, and Elon Musk can't get enough of talking about the AI God. Every interview, even this last one where he says F, a BlackRock if they don't want to advertise on my channel, F this person and that person if they don't want to advertise on X, okay, F them. Yeah, well, it's all coming back to you, my friend. And so getting into this situation of despotism and the enlightened despot and how it gets into the World Economic Forum. At this stage in the game, 42 minutes, I'm probably going to get more into it in my next video, hopefully tomorrow. But I just want to start out by saying it goes way back to Prussia and the Prussian, the Kingdom of Prussia. And there's a great channel that or Substack that I got turned on to by a subscriber. It's about Prussiagate. Okay, and it talks about kind of everything I've been talking about with Cartel Babylon, but how it comes out of Prussia and this whole thing of Schwabenland. Okay, and you get Klaus Schwab, right, out of Schwabenland, and Geneva is kind of the new Schwabenland. World Economic Forum is the new center of this philosopher kingdom, where you have an elite that believes that they know what your happiness should be. And it contrasts with our United States Declaration of Independence written by Thomas Jefferson, okay, of happiness is our right. We are known in our own selves. Our self-determination for happiness is given to us by God to determine by ourselves. And this was in direct opposition to King George III, who was absolutely related. He was a cousin to Frederick the Great out of Prussia. King George was absolutely part of this cabal, the 1700s version of the World Economic Forum, and where it came out of Berlin, and especially the University of Berlin, created by Frederick for his brother Henry. They were planning to install Henry to be king of the United States, actually, but the situation of where the Age of Enlightenment was hugely corrupt with an age of immorality, okay, and just disgusting behavior. And what we had with Frederick the Great out of Prussia was that in the 1700s, he was gay and he was syphilitic and he was castrated. That was the treatment for syphilis at the time. So he had his balls cut off. And his father made him watch the hanging of his gay male lover. But then he was crown prince and then he became king. And he instigated this massive move towards the Enlightenment and despotism through Enlightenment, and what they call, of course, Luciferianism, which is where that in their eyes, the Christians were in the dark because they didn't have the light of Lucifer. They didn't know what the real truth was that they had in their secret teachings, in their magic, in their rituals, that if you couldn't, and because at that time, a lot of people couldn't read. They weren't able to read. They weren't able to know what was being said or what's going on. They were, dealing with the church and dealing with control over them. And it was like, well, if you're stupid enough not to know what we're doing to you, then we have every right to do it to you. And this is exactly what the World Economic Forum is doing now, where they're saying, I own nothing and I am happy. I will eat the bugs. Back in Frederick the Great's time, he brought potatoes over, okay, that did not grow well in the Prussian area, and made everybody grow potatoes, and they wouldn't grow. People had starved. He put in 17,000 laws, okay, that made people. They were Frankist laws. They were creepy, gross, predatory, pedo-type laws, and just disgusting surveillance, like into people's intimate lives laws. For instance, he made the law where women had to, whenever their menstrual cycles, whenever they got their periods, they had to report it to the local police, okay, in their area, their version of the police. Basically, it was massive allowance for the elite to rape and attack the masses of the serfs. This enlightened despotism, okay? Meanwhile, he brought in Voltaire, he brought in Diderot, he brought in Kant. He created massive, libraries and palaces and opera houses and did all these things. But on the flip side, did the exact opposite of, here's your massive micro laws for the population so that we can control every move you make. No hunting allowed of animals, massive control of what you can grow in the agriculture, huge taxation, bureaucracies really modernized. It's exactly what we see now, okay? And I think it's poignant to note that it is this castrated, syphilitic gay man that has no family or no future, and his only future is in creating this godlike presence through Lucifer, okay, into the future through massive torment and control and surveillance. I think that's important, and I think we all understand why at this time. He came out of the Hohenzollern family, the House of Hohenzollern, and this came out of massive, over like centuries of usury through this family, controlling different monarchs, controlling different dukes and people, France and England, to control the money. And it went on and on for multiple years. The modern version of that is BlackRock, okay? BlackRock just lost $5 trillion in the last 2 years. $5 trillion through ESGs, okay, through investors that should have been making tons of money. What used to be stockholders now are stakeholders, forced to lose tons of money to sign on to the enlightened despot model, the World Economic Forum model, the Cartel Babylon model, to lose money in order to gain this Luciferian immortality. They think they're stuck, they're captured. Lose $5 trillion, right? Condense, monopolies and power, real estate, buying everything above market costs, lose tons of money in doing so because you really can't sell those properties. They're being held, okay, to rent to the masses, chopped up. All right, mostly the migrants coming in, or maybe the Chinese, already sold to them, right? Already sold to the CCP for later. But, you know, you get your $5 trillion lost through BlackRock, and now they're saying, going forward, they're going to put another $5 trillion of assets into buying more ESGs. So the ESGs, you get all of your climate crap, okay, putting tons and tons of pension dollars, so making sure that the people who work their whole lives will not get their pension dividends growing but shrunken, okay, killing everybody's nest eggs, right? Very, very Nero style, very, very Frederick the Great style, all right? Frederick the Great, super connected to everything. Like I said, creating the University of Berlin, okay, where they actually created what was the first World Economic Forum scenario in Berlin, out of Prussia, okay? For the brother of Frederick, Henry, they created this Berlin Palace made for Henry, was then converted into the University of Berlin in 1810, and this became an espionage and Jesuit-style teaching place, okay, using the Freemasons, using every secret society at the time, but basically this Frankist model of ritual and sin and Luciferian magic knowledge, and it's you know, sort of the precursor of what, you know, became Theosophy later, getting into really deep knowledge through ritual, demonic interconnection, okay? And so, but in the Berlin Palace and the University of Berlin, they created these platforms to recruit and train and deploy what they called, enlightened emissaries, whose mission was to, who were mandated to transform society everywhere they went. Very much like the Jesuits. One Jesuit was supposed to be able to absolutely take over a nation, okay, if properly trained. Same thing with the Prussian created University of Berlin way back, before Tavistock Institute, before, even before Marx, but they did use Marx then, and they did flatten Alexander II, who was trying to actually make a republic out of Russia. They did all that, and I'm at 52 minutes, so I know I've been rambling on. There's so much more to say about this, but what I'm trying to get into is that this World Economic Forum goes back, way back into Middle Ages, but really kind of in a modern level, right in through the 1700s, right when the USA was fighting for independence. There was this horrified, enlightened despot World Economic Forum junior movement that was already in play very much. And it's what the 1776 crowd, what our forefathers were dealing with, was like a giant despotism. They were dealing with Franco-sadism. They were dealing with people who wanted to literally decide, okay, what the happiness that you should experience, right? Happy making time, right? Like Soros said of his collecting of the Jewish property or anybody who the Nazis went after. It's happy making time because I decide your happiness. And why the Declaration of Independence that Jefferson wrote was so important, where it said that no, we have the right to happiness, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that pursuit of happiness, what we deem happiness, comes to us from God, not from you. You don't tell us what our happiness is. You don't tell us that eating bugs, living like paupers, the greater good for the king and crown is our happiness. It's not. And I might leave it there. I'm going to get back into this. I didn't expect to go this long. But we need to understand this has been formed for several hundred years. As we're coming towards the 250th anniversary of the United States, Trump plans to really celebrate it, right, in 2026. We need to understand that this was when 1776 happened. Okay, it was directly against King George III, who was a cousin, okay, to the King of Prussia, who was literally so involved in this. We have the right to dictate what happiness means to the masses, and what it means is sacrifice that you should suffer so that the people who are better than you, who know more than you, okay, should be able to tell you what to do. It's the scientism of that age, okay, yet fraught with massive amounts of absolute immorality and corrupt ways of thinking, and massive mind manipulation and social engineering control way before the new mechanisms that we're dealing with now on the huge internet and social media interference. So anyway, I've gone way too long. I'm going to get more into this in my next video. I hope to be back up tomorrow. And I want to thank you again. This is the last day of September. So if you want to get entered into the C60 Evo giveaway on this channel, I give away 2 bottles of the capsules, which I love because it's C60 Evo ESS60 in a gelatin capsule, which I find digests really well together, the protein with the oil. Gets into your mitochondria, takes all the crud out from all of this onslaught of the magneto-particles and just all the garbage that these enlightened despots, these scientism psychopaths are trying to kill us with. So if you want to support the channel, you'll get an email sent to you with a 15% discount, plus you'll get entered into the giveaway. And for anybody who's just watching, you get 10% off if you go to c60evo.com/YAFTV. Thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate you listening to me. It's been a long one tonight, and it was squirrely, but it's all interconnected. Can you see? I hope you can see. Because you are free, and you have the right to see, and you are smarter than those ridiculous enlightened despots who actually are morally inept and not very smart. Okay? God, faith, freedom. We are free. See you next time.